Hey everybody, this is Jason at our survival school out here in Colorado. Today we're going to do something a little bit fun. I'm going to make a rocket stove. Now everybody's probably seen a rocket stove made out of cinder blocks or the like, but we're going to do this primitive style. Not very good at finding a cinder block tree out in the wild, so we're going to do it with a tree. Now while we were out building a shelter, a lean-to, we were taking down widowmakers, the dead standing trees. And while we're knocking one down, we found one that was hollowed out, an aspen tree. So I'm going to make a rocket stove out of that aspen tree. I've already cut it into sections. I'm going to show you one right here. So as you can see, hopefully, that log is completely hollow. Now what I did was I cut it so I've got a hole at the base, and then it's flat on top and flat on the bottom. I've got another section here. Cut the same way, sort of. I've got a smaller hole on the bottom. This one's completely empty, hollowed out. For these trees, it's not common to find a hollowed out tree, but at some point, this tree died and animals climbed inside and they made a nest. So when we cut this tree open, there was a bunch of nesting material. I don't know if it was a bird or a squirrel or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Just pull all that nesting out. You can take another stick and you can jam it down inside of there and all of it will come out. But you want all of it out of there, and this one's pretty clean. It's just the punky wood. You can see, get really close to the camera here. You can see it's kind of soft. I can push that with my hand. That's punky wood. It's rotten. So I can break it apart, but that stuff burns pretty well and it'll burn hot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set this on the ground, straight up and down like this. We may need to brace it with rocks or whatever to make sure it stays standing up. And then I'm going to build a fire inside of here. What's going to happen is this log is all punky wood inside, really soft wood, and it's real dry and old, and it's going to burn pretty well. And then it's going to race up the inside of that log, and when it does, you're going to get flames shooting out the top, much like you would a rocket stove that you make out of cinder blocks. It's not going to burn too fast, but it's going to burn up pretty quick. But once it gets going, you can set a pot of water on top of this. You don't want to block off the top of the hole completely, so you'd set off your pot off to a little bit to the side so that the air will come through and it'll burn properly. But we're going to go set this up here in a minute, get that fire going, and we're going to see how fast we can boil some water. So it took me a little bit to get the fire going on the bottom. You have to really get a lot of hot air or a lot of air into it. What I did is down on the bottom there, first I put some dry grass and some pine needles, and then got those going, lit on fire. And then once it started going a little bit, I dropped larger twigs down on the top and just kept blowing, sorry, a little too close, kept blowing air into it until it ignited. And now, as you can see, we'll go up here, the inside of the log is caught on fire, and that's where all of your energy and your fuel is coming from now. If it starts going out a little bit, you can grab little twigs off the ground. It's probably not going to go out at this point, but drop them down in there. And you got to actually hit the hole. You can just put them in there and add a little bit of fuel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a little pot of water, and I'm going to sit it on there and I'm going to position it so it's just off to the side, so air can still come up out of there. And then we're going to see how long it takes for it to boil water. But there's your primitive rocket stove. No cinder blocks needed, so you don't have to hunt for the cinder block tree. Alright, so when I set the pot down on top of there, it kind of snuffed the flame out. So I went and got a couple green sticks that won't burn as fast to hold that pot up. Allows that stove to breathe. According to the wind direction, the angle of the sun, and my cell phone, it's 11:27. We're gonna see how long it takes to boil that water. All right, so it's 30 seconds later and I'm already getting bubbles on top of here, so it's not going to be very much longer and this is going to boil. So our 11:29 and the edges around the pot are starting to boil, so it's not going to be very much longer and this will be a rolling boil. So we're at about 2 minutes to boil this little pot of water. All right, rolling boil right now. So I'll show you here. We got a rolling boil after 2 minutes being on there. I think that's a 1 quart pot, so you get yourself a 2 or 3 quart pot. It'll take a few more minutes, but it's still going to be pretty hot. As you see, the sticks on the bottom didn't catch burn through, so it held that pot up above pretty well. So that's it. That's a primitive rocket stove made out of just things that we found out in nature. A hollowed out log, a couple rocks to keep it propped up, a couple sticks to keep for a grill to keep that up off of there, and boiling water in 2 minutes.